My name's Tyler Sydebotham. It's actually English. I had relatives that fought for both the British in the Revolution and the Continental side, both. And so with the same last name. My love for history started when I was little bitty. Thought I was Daniel Boone. I wore buckskins and a coonskin cap everywhere I went. Purchased my first flintlock when I was 9 years old with my own hard-earned money. I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 2016. Then when I got back from overseas, I built my first rifle that I'd ever made and fell in love with that. And I drove up to Williamsburg, Virginia, and that's where I met Richard Sullivan. He was the master gunsmith there at the time. And I asked him, I would give anything for an opportunity to work for you, even for just a couple days to try to learn something. Then a few years goes by, he called me. And he said, I have an opportunity for you to come work for me as an intern for 10 weeks. And so he said, I'll need you here next week, so sorry for the short notice. And I said, don't worry about it. And I said, I'll be there tomorrow. But he taught me how to hand forge barrels and hand forge locks and cast brass while I was there. And I went to Arrow Rock, Missouri, and then they hired me there as the gunsmith for Arrow Rock. And so now I'm working there as the historical gunsmith there. I met my buddy Colton Kiso. He was a member of them. So I started going to events with him, and next thing you know, I was a member too. The American style of forging a gun barrel started with a wrought iron skillet. And the reason we use wrought iron is it's very forgiving and it's very soft, so it's easier to work with. It welds up easier, but it's also easier to work with hand tools later as well. The only three parts on the entire flintlock that were made out of steel were the three springs that were on the lock. Even what we call the frizzen or the steel was actually, in America, in most cases, hand forged out of wrought iron and then case hardened in order so it could spark. But you start with a scalp, and it's tapering in width and thickness from one end to the other. And so after you have that made, then you can start cupping the piece. After you have it completely cupped, then I come back in the middle and I start rolling it into a tube. You can only weld about a quarter to a half inch every single weld. You only have about 3 to 5 seconds to make that connection. You stick a mandrel in. The mandrel keeps the hole from collapsing. It also keeps the hole round instead of forming a teardrop shape. But after I have it all rolled into a tube, I can ream the barrel out and then rifle it. The reaming process takes about 3 days, and it's the most labor-intensive part of the entire thing. Rifling takes about 4 hours to cut the grooves in the barrel, and so the whole objective was to get the ball to spin as it's coming out. The wood that I use, about 95% of the firearms stocked in the East in the 18th century would have been maple. About 1 out of every 100 maple trees grows with curl naturally in the wood, and you can actually see the curl in the bark of the tree. Today we call this tiger maple or curly maple. Back then it just would have been called red maple or sugar maple with curl. With maple, since it's so hard, it allows you to do relief carving of finer details. If you ever see a brass patch box on a firearm, it meant that it's American made, and that's where you keep your loading patches. The Germanic style of forging of a gun barrel, you would pound out long strips of iron, and you could mix steel in with it too to make your Damascus barrels. But they'd wrap this around a mandrel, and then they'd heat this up to welding heat and pop it on an anvil on the floor to seat the coils together, and then bring it up to welding heat again and put it on an anvil. And then 2 guys would take light blows and turn this, and that's how you weld the outside. That's pretty difficult to do, but it's like anything. Once you start doing it, you get the hang of it, and you learn how to do, and you learn what not to do as well. And so, unfortunately, we learn, I think, more skills from what not to do than we do. Yeah,
I
so
definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So my YouTube name is Golden Mean Flintlocks. You can look me up on YouTube. I have a building series on there of me building a rifle. Colton Kiso and I, we're planning on forging a Damascus barrel together next winter. And so when things wind down and the months get a little slower and the nights get longer, we're going to start forging some Damascus barrels. So yeah. So anyway, but yeah.
Thank you so much for talking with me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Thank you all very much.